Dayside, everyone. I'm Linda Vester. We're doing this story on the hazing incident in Illinois because a number of things are happening. Number one, we're expecting a news conference at the top of the hour that should be talking about school punishments for some of the students who were involved in that incident. But also, we understand that interviews are going on today between police, not only the students, but the parents involved as well, because this whole thing goes beyond not just the girls who were involved in the actual brawl, but maybe what their parents were doing at the time. With us now is Dr. Gail Gross. She is a family and child development specialist. Dr. Gross has been doing a lot of research on this story. And first, a question to you about what we just heard before the commercial break, Doctor. Ashley, who says, you know what, you disrespect me, my fists are coming out. Is this typical of what you're seeing?
This has become the new normal. We have girls who really have been marginalized in our society. After all, we all know it's a male or patriarchal society. We always talk about that. And now the idea of what girls are looking for in adolescence, connection, a sense of their own identity, and to be noticed, and power. And so what is the model for power in our culture? The male model. And now the media is fitting that model very well. We have survival games, we have survival media, video games. All of what you said in the beginning was right on. And so the girls are adopting this model so that they have a sense of protection, self-esteem, a haven within their own arena.
The roles between men and women seems to be a real question here. Stand on up. You have a question about that.
Yeah, I have a question. Don't you think this is also a reaction to the blurring of gender lines? I mean, the radical feminist agenda basically says that it's okay for women to be like men and be superior to men. I want to see if the Chicago School Board punishes these women in the same way that they would if this was a boys' hazing incident. I mean, look what's also happening at the Massapequa High School.
All right, well, let's take this in bite-sized pieces and start with the blurring of the gender roles. Because, you know, there are plenty of guys who don't know whether they should open the door for a girl, and it seems like there are more girls who are saying, you know, I'm supposed to punch you out. What do you do?
Very good question. There's a lot of confusion right now with traditional roles for women. And what girls are really looking for, they're looking for role models like Power America, where someone can walk them through what they really need to be prepared to go and walk in this world as a woman. And through feminism, the traditional roles or initiations, such as hazing, have changed, but we haven't replaced them. So we've adopted male models.
Let's bring in the girls we were talking to just a second ago, Katie and Ashley. I mean, you know, when you talk about feminism and that sort of stuff, I mean, that kind of sounds like psychosocial gobbledygook. But do you think it's possible that, you know, that girls don't know how to be girls anymore and they're acting more like guys? Ashley, let me start with you.
I think that women nowadays are just not taking any disrespect now. They're more self-sufficient and independent. They don't need the man to fight their battles for them. They're not some soft-spoken little belle who stands behind their man. Now they're standing in front of their man and taking charge. But
Dr. Gross, I mean, doesn't that seem like there's a problem there? And you know
what Ashley says,
it has to go to fists.
She's right on. You used to have coming out parties. Those were initiations. Girls had a certain way of entering into womanhood that was in our age, based on Donna Reed or homemaking, but they're not there anymore. Those roles would be laughed at. But there's no new role that works for them. And so they're adopting these male roles because, and that's what we're seeing when you ask about the rise in violence. Yeah. You're not seeing that much murder as crime, but you're seeing the covert ways that girls used to demonstrate their aggression, gossiping, name-calling. We all grew up knowing those stages. Today, you do what you saw on that video. They can fight. They can use abusive language. We see it in sports.
Katie, let me bring you in because we're hearing that some of the girls in your school area are asking the media, look, what is the big deal? That they don't think what happened on that videotape is such a big scandal. Is that true?
Well, I think they think that because it's like nothing ever happened before, but it definitely is a big deal. And it would be like that anywhere. But the problem is that, like, since it does happen every year, and and they didn't know that it was a problem. All of a sudden this year, the media got into it. That's really the only difference. It was just the media. And so... Right, exactly. Well, there was always a video camera to catch it, just the media got a hold of it.
All right, Katie, Ashley, Dr. Gross, if you would just hang on for 1 second. Still ahead, we're going to talk to somebody who will reveal what happens to violent girls when they become adults. And up next, someone who says these pop culture heroines are the reason that girls are becoming more violent. Dayside. In about 40 minutes from now, there will be a news conference in Illinois about the girl hazing incident. Also, police are continuing to interview some of the girls who were involved and some of the parents as well. It's why we're doing this story. The bigger question here is there a trend that we need to confront of girls becoming more violent? We want to introduce you to some new voices. Andrea Lafferty is the director of the Traditional Values Coalition. She says the problem that is causing girls to behave like bruisers is Hollywood. From the media side, we have Frank Ginsberg. He is chairman and CEO of Averett Free Ginsberg Advertising. His argument is the media are only reflecting what's already going on in society. So, Andrea, let's start with you. How is the entertainment industry creating this problem?
Well, let me say that there are many reasons for it. Families need to be involved, but I think a lot of parents are tired of hearing it's their fault, that they need to be responsible. A lot of parents are responsible. I believe most parents are responsible. But Hollywood, they want to go after the tobacco industry. They want to go after the gun industry.
You know what? Bear with me 1 second, because your microphone just died. I'm just going to help you out on the fly. Use that.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Well, as I was saying, Hollywood wants everyone else to be responsible. They want the tobacco industry to be responsible. They want the gun makers to be responsible. But they don't want to be responsible for the kind of garbage and pollution that they spew, actually not just in our country, but internationally with TV shows and movies that are being put out.
Frank, I see you shaking your head.
Yeah, I'm shaking my head because I think the media has been given a very bad rap. And I think that what you're talking about is a cultural change, a change that the village cannot take care of, that we haven't addressed it in the right way. Women in brawls, in the middle of a park, high school illegally drinking is a hot journalism issue. It's hot on television, it's hot on the news. These are isolated cases. How can you explain that millions and millions of teenagers and children are watching all of these crimes,
Frank, I think
and there's so few that are doing it?
You have to admit, though, that the women we do see in the media, the women we see in movies and in TV shows, are more aggressive than they used to be. I was saying during the commercial break that, when I was a kid, it was Wonder Woman, and she'd whip her golden lasso around you. How bad was that? Now you see Laura Croft, and you see Carrie-Anne Moss in Matrix.
Everybody knows
and they're
that
beating
these
the
are all
daylights out of
special
somebody.
effects. It was a special design this morning. It's
Children
special
don't
effects.
always know.
Media has become the third parent in the house. We have mother and father working. We absolutely know as parents, and we know as educators and as child care professionals that parental involvement is the key to lowering violence with girls. Mother and father are both gone, and who is the third parent? The media. Now, mothers and fathers have to work. But in parenting, more is more, and the more we can compensate for our being away and model and mentor for our girls, the better chance we have, like Power America, for example, a very good program.
All right, let's bring in another voice from the audience. You're concerned. How much do you think it is the media, and how much do you think it's parents?
Well, I think it's the media. Years ago, you would see the guys, let's say, doing fighting and everything. All of a sudden, the girls see all these girls fighting on TV, and they're like, hey, we can do that too.
But Frank makes a point. I mean, are girls so stupid that we don't realize that it's fake, that Carrie-Anne Moss is hanging from wires?
What? No, now they see it's brought out more. It was never brought out like this.
And you think that it's just so prolific. It's everywhere. It's on the internet. It's on
Absolutely.
TV. Is it possible that
she's right?
That maybe it's the volume of what we're seeing of violent
The American Psychological Association has done a study on teenage girls, and they have stated that when their attitudes and their resources are threatened, they tend to be aggressive. If you then say aggressive behavior is male-dominated, then you have a real gender problem.
But also there are studies that have shown, let me just say this, there's other studies.
And Jeffrey Johnson from Columbia and Mark Singer from NYU just did the groundbreaking studies on violence. And 1 hour of violence, 4 episodes of violence in that hour raises your aggressive level regardless of who you are, regardless of what kind of home you come from. So we know that violence in the media...
Can I jump in on that?
One second. I want to bring in Ashley and Katie, who are still with us, while we have them here. And Ashley, just a question to you. I mean, did you start fighting because you saw something on TV that made you say, gee, that's a good idea?
Absolutely not. No.
Now tell me,
if you cannot determine what is real and what is fake and what is right and what is wrong, that is your problem. That is not because somebody made a TV show that was action-filled or full of violence. You should know that that's not right.
Okay, Andrea, I know you want to
let's just say we don't know the whole situation surrounding our guests, their family situation and so forth, but we do know that children, even if they have a history of fighting, if they do not see violence in television, it is not exacerbated. And if a child who has a history of not fighting watches violence, they become more violent. So there are studies after studies that show that violence does affect children.
However, but what's right and what's wrong, the people in these media situations that you're speaking of, those that do bad things get punished. Those that do good things get rewarded. So therefore, why isn't the media...
Frank, I would take issue with you there, because in so many TV shows and so many movies, there are no consequences.
That's right. That's right.
You know, you beat the daylights out of someone and you don't see the grieving in the family. You don't die.
You know, and children, we have to understand the developmental stages of children, know where they are, know how they think. Younger children in concrete operations don't realize dead is dead, but they imitate the aggressive behavior that can cause dead. And the thing of it is, when we have a culture right now facing annihilation, we think of terrorism, 9/11, we have wars in Iraq, and we have to be careful not to glorify war.
Fear is making our kids act
not
out
just
more?
with children, but with parents, and especially girls, and there's this sense that make love, not war. Tomorrow we won't be here. And it breaks down and endorses and sanctions more primitive behaviors like violence, eating, and sex.
Hang on, I see this young woman shaking your head. Why?
Good afternoon, first off. I just wanted to say that first things first, once you hear about maybe with a child, with a young child, yes, I think that you should monitor what they watch. But a young adult, as far as 16 and 17 years old, I think that they're going to make up their own mind whether they watch Mary Poppins or they watch Laura Croft.
Right.
So it's like, I mean, you can't blame it on the media. So it's just, I mean, I'm telling you, I'm a young woman myself. I'm only 21 years old, and I'm going to make my own decision whether I watch whatever on
The hard work has to be in parenting in the beginning.
Didn't your parents
We'll ask her about her
right?
parents during the commercial break. How about that? Katie, thank you for telling your story to us. I know you have to go right now, so thank you for talking with us. On to the next issue. So if the media aren't entirely to blame, who is at fault? Coming up next, we're going to talk with someone who argues if you want to know what drives a girl's behavior, check out what's happening inside her home. Back in a flash.
You bet.
From that Hazing news conference in Illinois, police are continuing to interview some of the parents and the students involved, and we understand now, we've just actually learned in the past few minutes, that there will be some disciplinary action taken by the school today. We have been talking to a number of people involving this hazing incident in Illinois, sort of looking at the broader picture. We've been talking to Ashley Werschelowski. She's this Cleveland teenager who fights other girls and says, look, it's okay. Dr. Gail Gross, a child and family specialist, who says girls are becoming more violent. Andrea Lafferty, director of the Traditional Values Coalition. She faults the media. And Frank Ginsberg, he's an ad executive who says the media just mirror what's happening in society. Now we want you to meet Roland Warren. He is the president of the National Fatherhood Initiative. And from what we understand, Roland believes that it's the breakdown of family structures that are the real problem here. Is that true?
That's correct.
Do you really think so? Well, let me just ask somebody here, because this goes straight to your point. Here's a young woman who says that she knows all about fighting. She sees it plenty in her school. And you say that actually, if you were to do it, what would happen to you?
My parents would probably kill me. I'd be in so much trouble because even if it was over the stupidest little thing, I would definitely be punished. I wouldn't be able to go out, and they would get mad at me for being suspended from school. So.
Okay, now are you saying that she's no longer the norm, that she's now the exception?
Well, in too many neighborhoods and too many communities, she's the exception. I mean, we've presided over a significant decline in family structure and a tremendous breakdown in family structure. And specifically, when you look at the breakdown in family structure, it's primarily absence of fathers from homes. I mean, you know, it was very interesting.
Wait a minute. Hang on. We're talking about Northbrook, Illinois now. And these are nice, leafy, manicured lawns and affluent neighborhoods. Are you saying that applies there, too?
Absolutely. It's interesting because we're surprised that a suburban neighborhood kind of confirms the fact. The reality is that too many of our parents think that the primary role of being a parent is to provide for your kids materially. But the reality is that the primary role of parenting is to provide values, is to instill values in your kids. There's too much focus on stuff as opposed to standards. And a lot of our kids, and particularly our teens, have holes in their souls in the shapes of their dads. And frankly, until we start to address this issue, whether you're talking about the media or all these other factors, you're really not going to make any headway. Girls are more violent. You look at the records. There's been a 36% increase of girls going to prison. Of women going to prison. When you look at the same period of time, it's a 24% increase in men. So we have a significant issue with our young women.
I take it back to Ashley. Ashley, have your parents ever told you that fighting is wrong?
Yes.
Now, see, this is a question, Roland. I mean, her parents have sent her the message, and she fights anyway.
But ask her parents what they've said. Right, it's parental involvement. The parents are there for their children. They're participating and setting rules and holding children accountable.
It's about being present day by day by day.
It's really, parents are entitled to parent, and they have to really take back the parenting role. Only 20% of 100% of people with children are married in the traditional way, and those people have children.
All right, let me bring in a parent voice on this. Go ahead.
I have a 14-year-old son, but what I want to say is that I've been very active in raising him. Every minute of the day, watching everything. And I watch what he does. I watch what he's on the internet, watch what he watches on television.
Okay.
The same thing with movies. What movies he was allowed to see. And he doesn't fight, and he doesn't hang out with kids that fight. And he watches now. He's 14. He watches things that are a little more violent, but he is not a fighter. And
so you're saying, why is it so tough for other parents to do this?
I think parents I've seen so many of the kids that he's grown up with where the parents are not involved at all.
And I'll bet you're a good role model, and that's the bottom line. Parents have to be what they want to see. You can't say to your children, don't hang out with bad people, because peers are one of the most important things, and then you hang out with bad people for a raise in your job or because you're looking for to do business with them or they're socially important. In other words, you have to be what you want to see. You want your children to be with good people, you have to be with nice people.
Hang on.
The peer group is very important.
Wait, because we're talking so much about teenage girls, I think it's fair to give Ashley a say. Ashley, I hear you want to get back in. We're not intentionally dissing your parents, but we'd like to know.
I think that as professionals, you should stop pointing the finger at people, because every time you point a finger at somebody, there are 3 pointing back at you. You cannot blame what a young adult does on their parents. They are a young adult. Their mind has developed, and they can do what they want to do regardless of what their parents say.
Young lady.
So many heads shaking vigorously.
Well, I think, well, from my standpoint, I mean, frankly, I can feel your pain in your voice. And when I heard you speaking on the front end, you're a hurting young lady, and I feel sorry for that. But the reality is this, that absolutely parents are the ones who help shape the values from their kids. And what we have is a values vacuum with too many of our kids today, and particularly with our teenagers, because when you watch a lot of the images, media images in particular, parents are told, look, during the time when your kids become teens, put on your flap jacket, put a helmet on, get in a hole, and just try to get through it. And it's wrong, because this is really a tremendous opportunity to instill values in your kids. It's an age of opportunity, the teen years, not a time for parents to run and hide.
Let me just jump in also.
Go ahead, Andrea.
You know, why have you guys been showing this on Fox and the other media covering the story for so many days? It's because it was shocking about where it happened. If this had happened in the inner city, people would have said, oh, we expect that. Unfortunately, that's true. But because these, as you said, these kids live in communities with manicured lawns, they're surprised. And parents at all levels need to be involved. And I think that they're trying, and there's a lot of factors that are making it difficult for them to raise kids.
Go ahead, Jim. Hang on, wait, jump in. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Diane. I just want to say that I think that when people have children, you assume they love their children, but that's not always true. There are too many of us that will go out and leave the children and say, well, we have to work, we have to do this, we have to do that.
And make TV their babysitter?
No, not TV, no. What I'm saying is you're teaching the children that even though they're your responsibility, you're not being responsible. A responsible parent shows their children not only that they love them, but they're going to go to the last mile with them.
Well, mothers are concluded. There was old, and that's the big part of the problem. Go ahead, Frank.
But I just want to support the media. I want to do a psychological note and then come back to the media. The psychological note is that aggression and aggressive behavior is learned behavior. Right. It takes a lot of time for that to happen. It has to be monitored by the parent. It has to be viewed and observed and be brought out. But let's talk about all the good things the media does. For our agency is involved in the Partnership for Drug-Free America. We also have commercials that are directed against parents supervising afternoon projects. What is your child doing at 3 p.m. when he gets out of school? Yeah. We have programs for that in the city, in the village,
but
in that place that we live.
Does anything replace a parent who is present?
No.
No, and that's the bottom line. Hang on for 1 second. You've heard all of these different perspectives. Now we want to talk some hard numbers. Is this girl violence really on the rise, or is it just hype? You may be surprised by what our next guest has found out. Back in a second. If you're going to be in the New York area and you'd like to be a part of Dayside's live studio audience, we'd love to have you. Call 1-877-FOX-TKCS for your free tickets and be part of Fox News Channel's newest show.